What do you really know about the performance of this Group 3 Lamborghini Huracán compared to the other cars on Gran Turismo 7? Well, I'm going to test its acceleration, top speed, tyre wear, fuel consumption, performance under BOP on different tracks, upshift points and brake balance. That's right, I'm going to do the work so you don't have to. Coming up. Hello and thank you for joining me again for this next instalment of the Group 3 car comparison series. This time I'm in a Lamborghini Huracán and I'm getting straight into the acceleration tests. Just like the NSX in the last video, this is a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car, and just like the NSX it is sluggish when upshifting at 50%. It weighs between 1321 and 1330 kilos depending on which BOP track it's on, so it's one of the heavier Group 3 cars. This run was the slowest yet in any car at 27.975, so things can only get better. So hopefully we get a large improvement on this next run, upshifting at 75%, as the last run just wasn't competitive. The fastest time set so far is still 27.012 from the Corvette when upshifting at 90% on its rev bar. I can already feel on this run that we're not going much faster, and it looks like the Lamborghini is going to be another car with all of its speed in the top of the gears. Nothing changes on this run as it finishes with another disappointing time of 27.804. Before I started this run, I actually checked that I didn't have any of the assists or traction control on, as I'm really surprised how slow the acceleration is so far. For those new to the channel, I never have any assists on except for default ABS. Any other assists only slow you down once you're used to the game. I also reset to the pits after every run so that the fuel weight is equal for the next run. The Lambo is not improving much again, and I'm seriously starting to wonder whether it ever will. This was another really slow run at 27.733. On to the fourth run, and this time we're upshifting at 100%. One thing I have noticed is that, like the NSX, the Lambo feels very slow off the line and takes forever for the rev bar to fill up in first gear. This is probably a combination of the extra weight at the back of the car and the lack of power in the lower end. It is naturally aspirated, and I thought this might be a reason, but the Corvette is also naturally aspirated and it's rapid compared to this car. I honestly thought the Lambo would be quickest on these tests, but this run only has a slight improvement of 27.699. On this final run I'm fully revving out this Lambo to see what we get. We've already seen that it's slow compared to any of the others I've tested so far, but I think this run will be its quickest. It tops out just after 8,500 revs, so we need to keep an eye on the rev counter to make sure I'm there. 8,300 to 8,400 is the safest in this car. VR users will need to watch the RPM box to the right of the speedo on the dash. I usually do more tests with less starting revs, but this car doesn't wheel spin with 100% off the line, so I didn't bother this time. So this last run was the quickest for the Huracán at 27.677. On the leaderboard, the Corvette remains comfortable in first, and I'd imagine the Lamborghini won't even be on this page in a few weeks. The reason I'm most shocked by this is because I drove it for a whole season in a private league last year, and it was good. Hit pause if you want to take a longer look at the different times on this board. The fastest times are in red. Next up we have the first of two top speed tests, and I'm going to speed up the process to get us to the part that really matters. On this test we are looking at the Lamborghini's top speed. We have 280 km per hour to beat that was set by the Corvette and the Honda NSX. I have 100 litres in the tank set to ×1 with soft racing tyres, but tyre wear is set to off. Special stage Route X takes us up that long hill and then back down the other side. After that the cars settle back down on the flat to their natural top speed. After 9,000 metres I return the video to normal speed and we start to get an idea of what we're going to get. When we hit the 10,000 metre gate, that's the speed that we'll be taking as our top speed. As we cross the line, the Lambo has clocked 280 km per hour. I used kilometres per hour as I wanted a smaller unit of measurement to show greater differences between the cars. But as we look at the leaderboard you can see that we now have 3 cars in joint first on 280 and the Beetle catching fumes in last. At least BOP is reasonably consistent for this metric so far. The second top speed test is a lap time test around the Daytona Tri-Oval to see how well the Lamborghini can maintain speed around fast bends. The video starts on the hot lap after an out lap to get the car up to speed. As I drive round, I would like to be keeping an eye on the speed, but I'm so used to VR that keeping it as close as I can to the yellow line on the flat screen is enough to do. I'll leave it over to you guys to monitor the speed drop and the bends. I'm really interested to see how the Lambo handles round here, as it has the same top speed as the Corvette and the NSX, but there were 3/10 between those two on this track. The Corvette is the quickest with a top time of 52.015 in this test. The Lamborghini crosses the line just behind the Corvette with 52.170. So on the table for this one, that slots the Lambo into second place, and this is exactly why I do this particular test. Even though the top three cars have the same top speed on a straight, you can see the difference between them when driven flat out round fast bends. The NSX would lose 3 seconds to the Corvette over 10 laps round here. Let's move on now and see how the Lamborghini compares to the others in the BOP tests. The first BOP test is set on one of GT7's low speed tracks at Sardegna B. On the screen now you'll see a list of all the tracks that fall into this category. The Beetle is still the fastest car around here with an optimum time of 1 minute 20.778. Huracán really dives well into turn 1 with great brakes and loads of grip, allowing me to get on the throttle with little oversteer. When I got it right, I could get through turn 3 full out using the short shift to fourth as I'm entering the bend, though I lost a couple of tenths on turn 4 getting my entry all wrong on this lap. I'm still not sure of the best line through this weird right-hander down the hill, so I try lots of different lines throughout the stints. For newcomers, I only do 10 lap stints after an out lap to keep fuel usage equal between the cars. At the bottom of the hill you're carrying lots of speed and the upcoming right-hander is very tricky. There is a bumpy dip into a steep uphill and it's very easy to lose the rear end here. The last 3 corners are very difficult to nail with horrible curves on the inside that really unsettle the car if you're too close. The Lambo really holds its own round here though. I did my best laps with zero brake balance and keeping the revs as high as I could. This lap wasn't great, but I had better, and the Lambo finishes with an impressive optimum time of 1 minute 20.351 when compared to the others so far. The leaderboard shows how this car, that apparently can't accelerate, has blown the opposition away with 4 tenths over the Beetle and nearly a second over the Corvette. Now I'm excited to see what it can do in the next one. The next one is of course the mid-speed BOP test at Road Atlantic. Pause now if you want to see all the tracks in this category. The fastest optimum time for this track is still the Beetle at 1 minute 19.156. On the first bend, third gear was slowing me down, so I stuck with fourth. There was not enough grip up the hill, and over the crest was the first time I dropped briefly to second in all of my laps. Nervous energy maybe. As I'm sure you know, if you're out of shape at the top of the S's here, it's a mission to find your line without a slight lift through the middle. The car's not bad through the dip, and the rear end actually helps the rotation if you're brave enough to floor it early. The car doesn't quite top out in fourth before the next corner, which is nice, and exiting the last corner before the straight seems faster in the long first gear the Lambo has. I wouldn't consider myself experienced enough to give you the very best advice how to get these cars around the track in the fastest time, but what I am giving you is my experience of what I notice when I drive them. PD have done such a good job to make these cars feel so different to drive on a decent wheel and rig, and I'm going to do a good job testing them equally with fuel weight. I used zero brake balance on this one, but the car was unsettled easily through the chicane. I do love this approach to the line though. Well, there you go. We have an optimum time of 1 minute 19.109 and the Lamborghini has taken top spot again. This lap was ruined over the hill into the Etties, but the car is nice. Here is the confirmation on the board. I definitely feel that the suspension setup on this car with a good top speed is the key, although it doesn't like steering through dips of any kind. Only half a second between all of them so far on this test. Let's move on to the next one. The final BOP test is the high speed one at Daytona, and here are the tracks that fall into this category. Braking felt quite nice into this first corner and I'm dropping to first to help me slow down, although I came in a bit hot on this one. Exiting in first gear on these first 4 corners was proving slower, so I'm upshifting into second where I can floor it quicker with minimal wheel spin. I found that the bottom of the gear is so slow to get going that second is actually nice out of these corners. I am using +1 brake balance this time as it's proving much quicker than 0. +1 is helping turn into tight corners and I'm not feeling any understeer. The optimum time to beat on this one is 1 minute 47.091 set by the Corvette, and there is confidence at this stage after seeing what this Lamborghini did on the last 2 tests. For these BOP tests, I use 100 litres of fuel at ×1 and medium racing tyres at ×1. All tests have equal conditions and BOP on. I explain the fair and equal integrity of my tests in greater detail in the first 2 videos of this series. Just like the NSX, I found the upcoming bus stop chicane to be a problem with this car. Once again, dropping to third was giving me slower lap times while fourth had such low revs, it takes ages to get going. This is especially hard driving a car with low acceleration in the low end, but fourth was the quickest exit. I never really nailed a whole fast lap in my stints today, meaning that my optimum time ended up much faster than my best lap. I couldn't actually understand where I'm losing time as the in-car HUD is the only info I have in lobby mode. Come on PD, give us VR guys a chance. The time for the Lamborghini is eventually 1 minute 47.175 and places it in second place on the board. I've been really impressed how it's performed over these 3 BOP tests. It is without doubt the most consistent so far, doing well in everything besides acceleration. Let's see how it compares on fuel consumption and tyre wear. Let's head straight out into the fuel and tyre test at Brands Hatch. For this one I have 100 litres of fuel at ×3 and soft racing tyres at ×5. I drive at a fast pace until one of the tyres die. I set the cars up and drive them as I would race them based on what we've learned so far. For the Lamborghini, that means revving without topping out with brake balance set to 0 as this was the most used setting in the BOP test. I don't show the whole run on this test as it takes too long. I cut out the middle part and I'll see you at the end in the blink of an eye. So here we are on the final lap and I'm struggling more with this car than any of the others at this stage on this test. I just had a little spin when I was taking care and now I'm having to take even more care. This car is unable to race with a rear left this low and there is not far to go now. You probably can't see as it's more obvious in car, but I'm waiting for the last flicker of white to leave the rear left on the HUD. At the top of the windscreen you can see we're on the 10th lap, meaning I've completed 9 laps including the outlap. This graphic shows where I ended up on the track and confirms that I've completed 9.9 laps. When I transfer that over to the tyre wear comparison table, we can see that the Lamborghini tops this chart as well, finishing nearly a third of a lap further than the Honda and much further than the rest. You can also see from the in-car HUD that I have 52% of fuel left, meaning I've used 48%. As I started with 100 litres, that means I've used 48 litres. So 48 litres divided into 9.9 laps equals 4.85 litres per lap. And that 4.85 puts the Lambo top for this test as well, pushing the NXS out to second again and leaving the other two trailing. This is another awesome result for the Lamborghini, which has proved that it's a definite all-rounder based on what we've seen so far. No wonder they made it heavier in the game. Well, that wraps it up for this one, and I hope you're enjoying the series so far. I really do believe there's something for everyone who loves GT7 in these videos. Please like and subscribe to help get this channel established. Thank you for joining me, and see you next time.